You'll never make it out alive if you look her in the eye. Give me once, give me twice, knock me down, I won't die. She's gonna sing a hurricane, another hurricane has come again. All wiped out, nowhere to run to, tried to run for.
Hey guys, what is up? It is I, James Penrose here, back again for my next video here on my channel. And this is going to be my return of Simpsons episode reviews for you guys watching right here. I've done a lot in the past. In fact, quite honestly, the first, well, not the first Simpsons episode review that I ever did, but the one I did on Season 9, The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson. If you haven't seen that, go check it out in like my old videos. If you go on my channel and go on old videos, you'll see it then. It's got like over 1,000 views. That's my most popular Simpsons episode review. And thank you guys so much for all the feedback and all the likes and all the views and everything. I really appreciate it. And I'm back again to give you guys another one of these episode reviews right now. And this one's going to be coming from an episode that I recently just touched back on and watched recently once again from Season 8 once again. And this episode I believe was called Hurricane Neddy. Yes, this episode is based around Ned Flanders and his family in a big-time family crisis that they have. How this all goes about, it starts out, Homer's pretty much just lying there, you know, on the hammock, trying to reach his drink cart because the wind is blowing, and Lisa's thinking, oh my god, all this wind's coming really fast, oh shit, a hurricane's coming. And at that point, Homer Simpson is telling Lisa, oh, come on, Lisa, this is just another one of your stupid pranks. There's no record of a hurricane ever hitting Springfield. And Lisa's trying to tell Homer, yeah, but the records only go back to this day when blah, blah, blah was blown away. And then all of a sudden, Santa's little helper just gets completely... And this was the funniest part, one of the funniest parts. Santa's little helper comes to Homer, and all of a sudden he gets blown away by the wind. And Homer's like, oh, hurricane. Somehow the animals are always the first to know. That was a funny moment right there. And then all of a sudden it goes down to the fact of when you see a segment where everyone is, well, I won't say evacuating, but everyone is like pretty much dying for supplies. Everyone's begging and begging and fighting for every last food, every last drink that they can get at the Quick Mart. Everyone goes in there, rushes in, so many at one time, to the point where this Marge and Lisa can't get any left. I think it was also quite funny how you had Lisa get picked out by this old woman as a pineapple because her hair is like kind of shaped as a pineapple because it's like all up type thing. So pretty much she was like, oh my god, it's the last pineapple. And Ralph was like there with Lisa, and she's like, hey, we're gonna be in a pie. And I'm like, just like, wow, Ralph, really? I mean, that Ralph Wiggum is a lovable character. Everyone thinks he's funny as hell, and I think he's funny as hell. But the times I see Ralph, I'm just like, oh god, no, not him. But when you really get down to it, the main talking point of this episode hits the fact where you go down to having the hurricane actually take place even further, where the Simpsons are heading down into the cellar, in the underground cellar pretty much, where they're going to be safe. And pretty much Ned Flanders is talking to Homer, why don't you just come around in our house? It's going to be fun. And Homer's like, no, that ain't happening. And then all of a sudden, you know, Marge is like, oh, why don't we do something to take our minds off the storm? And so she's looking for things, and all of a sudden she finds a Rubik's Cube. She's like, oh, well let's work it together, let's work it together. And it was also quite funny how you had the whole family argue all at one time. Oh, spin it this way, no, turn topwise. And Marge is like, alright, now I remember why I put this damn thing down here in the first place. And just throws it away. That was a funny moment right there. Again, so many good funny moments in these episodes. And back in the day in The Simpsons, you would get top quality Simpsons episodes where every part was so funny. You were so emotionally and comically invested into what they were doing. Now, with these episodes in the modern era, I'm not saying they're shit. I'm just saying they're not... Let's just say they're not up to the standard that they were back in the day from Season 8, Season 9, like I'm telling you now. But back to the episode. Again, the main talking point is where Homer initially thinks that the hurricane's died down because, you know, the rain stopped and he doesn't look like he sees any wind. He's like, all clear, everyone. He goes outside. Lisa's trying to warn him, no, this may just be the eye of the hurricane. And Homer's like, can't you see how clearly Comet it is? I told you it was over. And then all of a sudden, the bowling alley, the Barney's Bowlerama, just goes flying around all over the place. And Homer's like, I don't remember a bowling alley flying around. No, of course you won't remember, you idiot. And then all of a sudden, the hurricane comes back, almost gets the whole entire Simpsons family, but Marge pulls them out at the last second. Then all of a sudden, she prays that the hurricane will stop, and God only knows, the hurricane actually did stop. Homer's like, oh, way to go, Marge, for praying. And then they go outside the house and they realise that actually, you know what? No damage to the hurricane from the hurricane was done to the Simpsons family's house whatsoever. Marge goes, you know what? It just goes to show everything will work out if you have a bit of faith. And then all of a sudden, the funniest bit was, you turn to next door, Ned Flanders' house, and what do you see? You don't see a house. Well, you see a house, alright, but it's a fucking broken, watered-down piece of shit house that's been destroyed by the hurricane. And pretty much Ned Flanders is like, well, it's all gone. Everything. Gone diddly on. And right from there, that's when the crisis started. His house had been blown down. Lost his house. His family's in a complete shock and uproar about all this. So they decided to go to the church, which it's pretty much known as a help centre at that time. And Ned Flanders is really, really, really down to the point where he thinks God is punishing him. He's not too sure. He asked Reverend Lovejoy, he's like, oh, is God punishing me? I need to know now. And that was pretty cool, because he is a religious guy, and he states he's done everything the Bible says. Everything, and I mean everything. And he's like, oh, what the hell more can I do? You know, he really doesn't know what to do at this point. He's lost everything at this point. Hell, even before then, we saw a bit where Maud was trying to console Ned and say, hey, you know what, Neddy, I know this has been a bad day, but you know what? First thing tomorrow, we're going to open up the Leptorium, which is his store that he owns, and then before you know it, we're going to be back on our feet. And just when you think that might come true, not today, all of a sudden we see on Channel 5 News, or whatever it is, Kent Brockman's reporting that a storm allo crowd has appeared to have turned its rage on the Leptorium, and the store's just been completely trashed by a lot of people who just want to rob and take things for supplies by the hurricane. And that's when that plan really died. So at that point, Ned really has truly lost everything. And then you move forward to the next day, and Marge is pretty much trying to tell Ned, hey, you got to go back to your house. You got to go back to your house. Something unbelievable's happened. And Ned's not really buying it. He's like, yeah, really? Like you've done anything. Like you've done anything. What the hell happened now, eh? And Marge brings him back to the house, and what do you know? The house is rebuilt. The house is rebuilt, and how do you ask? By having the whole entire Simpsons family, and everyone from Springfield as well, might I add, all combined together to work together to make and rebuild this house. And from the outside, it looks completely the same. It looks like the same house that he remembered. But then, all of a sudden, when Ned struggled to open the door on his way in, that's when you kind of realise something wasn't right. He goes into the living room and dining room. At first it's like, oh yeah, that's a good impression. And all of a sudden he walks into a loose nail. And then he goes into the kitchen. Again, you think it's alright. And then all of a sudden he sees the toilet in the kitchen. And he's like, oh, is that toilet always next to the refrigerator? And he's, no. I don't think it was like that. We go to Rod and Todd's room. Bart and Lisa were like, oh yeah, we built your room. We pretty much built your room. And there was a Krusty the Clown poster up there, and I don't know if this is what caused this or not. It could have well been, I don't know. But there was a Krusty the Clown poster on the wall, and Rod is saying, you know what, Bart, I don't like this clown. He takes the poster down, and then Bart's trying to reason with him. He's like, oh, you know what, I wouldn't take it down if I were you, because once he took it down, walls started to crack, and I have a weird suspicion that that's what caused the... Well, we'll get into that later. But then all of a sudden, it really, really started to get embarrassing from there. When we get into the upstairs part, they get to the electricity room, and literally the door is not even in properly. You can see the electricity from a mile off, man. And Apu's like, oh, this is the room with electricity. But, you know what, it's got too much electricity. So you might want to wear a hat, you know? And then all of a sudden... And the funniest bit was, this was the funniest bit of all. You hit towards the end where he's finalising looking at the house, the rebuilt house of Ned Flanders, and all of a sudden the hallway is so small you'll have to like squeeze in, you'll have to like crouch down, and all of a sudden he opens the tiny little door, and who's in there but Barney Gumble, and he's like, come on in, it's your master bedroom, and Ned slams the door on Barney's face. That was absolutely hilarious. And Ned's like, you know what, I've seen about enough. And then Homer's like, well, Ned, what do you think the house that loves built? And all of a sudden he taps the door. Big mistake, Homer, because the house crashes and destroys once again. Homer's like, oh, shit. And his reactions were awesome. He was like, oh, crap. And then all of a sudden, Ned, and we've never, ever, and this is what I really liked, a side of Ned Flanders, a character who's religious, who's loved by all, who wants to be loved by all, who's done, like he said, everything the Bible says. Like, he's never drunk, he's never sweared or do drugs or do anything bad. But it hit that moment, in the heat of the moment, I might add, where all of that was just thrown out the window, and that one moment when Ned absolutely lost his shit. He's trying to compose himself, he's trying to calm down. He's like, yo, calm down, dilly dilly dilly, they did their best, Charlie, illy illy dilly. I gotta be nice, I swear. Oh, you dilly dong crap! Can't you morons do anything right? And then right when he said that, the whole of Springfield was in complete shock, because we've never ever heard Ned Flanders ever say something like that. A religious guy for him, a nice guy, just to go out off on his hedge and say something like that. That was a shocking moment. Everyone couldn't believe it. Marge was like, oh, you know what? Everyone meant well. We all tried our best. And then Ned's like, oh, well, our family and I can't live in good intentions, Marge. Oh, you've got good intentions, yeah. And then he's going on to the point where it's going too far, and he's just insulting everyone. He's insulting Bart with his, like, don't have a cow on, man. Here's a catchphrase you better learn for your adult years. Hey, buddy, got a quarter? And that was a good comeback right there. Bart's trying to, like, tell him to shut up, but he wouldn't have none of that. And he's insulting everyone. Mo, Krusty the Clown, Chief Wiggum, Lenny of all people. He's like, hey, I've only been here 5 minutes, what's going on? And he finally goes to Homer Simpson. He's like, Homer, you were the worst human being I have ever met. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, well, no shit, Homer feels the same way. But not at that time, you know. He was in shock. He couldn't believe what he was getting out of him. And then he just completely storms off in his car without Maude, Rod and Todd. The whole family has just been deserted by Ned. Ned is on his own. And where does he go to? Of all places, he goes, I believe it's called a, I don't know, it's called in a help home, I don't know, some care home or something like that, where he's committed himself and is trying to get help, just to try and, you know, get away from all of this, you know, anger and all that stuff. Because it was just in that one moment where pretty much he just erupted in rage. But throughout the rest of his life, he's never ever really done that. But what's important about that is, in his young life, and we never really knew this until this point, but up until then, when we hit his young years, he really was that way. Because there was a doctor in Springfield by the name of Dr. Foster, and pretty much what he was there to help Ned do was explore his past demons of why he doesn't feel angry anymore. What took him to become this nice, happy guy, you know, when he was once a really bad hellraiser like Bart was back in there. And Dr. Foster came in, and his technique to his parents, well, he said, hey, you know what, Flanders parents, we got a solution. I'll just spank your kid for 8 months and see how he does from there. So that's what he actually did. He spanked him for 8 months straight. And right when it hit 8 months, Ned, after all his anger as a kid, all of a sudden, he's like, I feel fine. You don't feel angry? He goes, absolutely not, Reno. And after that, it really just led on from there to the point where you had the Homer volunteer to help Ned in terms of, like, I wouldn't say like shouting verbal abuse at him, but really, really going off on a tangent to the point where Ned finally got something out of his system. Where Homer's saying, you know what, you love everything, you don't hate anything, and Ned finally said, you know what, that's not true. I mean, he said he hated the post office, he said he hated his own mother, and he's pretty much cured from there. That's what he needed to get out of his system. Dr. Foster really helped him, because he's a guy from Ned Flanders' past who really helped him in a long way, and Ned Flanders was cured and back on his way right there, and it ends once again on a happy, good note. And yeah, that's been my Simpsons episode review for Hurricane Neddy from Season 8. If I have gone on a tangent in this video and I've stumbled a load of shit, I apologise. I mean, this video's 13 minutes long. Holy shit, this video's been long. But yeah, if I have missed some stuff or I've stumbled across some stuff, I apologise. To be honest, I'm not really feeling that well. I'm tired. A long day at college. I want to go to fucking bed. I want a nap, guys. I really do want a nap. So other than that, guys, thank you guys for watching this episode review. Like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, all I can say is, peace out, my brothers.